Another episode of the Never Lose a Deal podcast. My name is Lorelia Brown-Phillips, and today we are going to be talking about funding. All business funding strategies work. As always, I never want to assume that people know who I am. So, as I said, my name is Lorelia, and I have been talking about the topic of business funding, credit, real estate here on YouTube. You may be listening on some of the podcasting um what do they call podcasting sites such as Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Amazon, and a list of others. But as I was saying, I'm not new to the conversation of business funding, and that is what I want to talk about today. So, all business strategy, all business funding strategies work. Why I decided to do a topic on this is due to a conversation that I had with someone that I know personally. And they shared with me, Lorelia, it is so many people who talk about business credit and business strategy and business funding, business credit, and how can a person decipher, what is truth, what is real? Can it help a person? The list goes on and on and on. And I shared with the person all the strategies work. All the business credit strategies work. All the business funding strategies work. And I know one may say it. If you're familiar with my conversation on this topic, in the past, I have talked about things that will never get you to the six figures and funding mark. They won't even get you to 50K. And although this video is really not to go into all the different strategies and the methods and the secret lenders list that people talk about, I want to just have you to think for a second. And that is what I share with the person, because all the strategies work. But I'm not here to be the business funding and the business credit sensei who, knight who is correct and who is right. But this is what I share with the person. All the strategies work. But the question is, are you the person? Are you, meaning me, the person who's listening, the person who's looking at, who's watching this video? Are you the person that can make the strategies work? What do you mean, Lorelia? Well, in layman's terms, are you in alignment with what is being taught in the marketplace? So, since I'm talking about this topic, I'm going to talk about myself. There are people who will never understand how I can assist people. There are people who may even engage to decide to work with me. They still may not get results with what I share, because alignment is so important. And that is what I'm going to talk about today, because all the strategies work, but it depends on, are you the person that strategy is in alignment for? So, using myself as an example, like I was saying, no one can come to me and tell me that in order, and this is just without me having an understanding of the industry or what have you, because it has to do with my values, what I believe, what I'm willing to do. There's nobody who can come to me and say, hey, Lorelia, if you want to obtain six figures in funding, if you want to be able to leverage credit for real estate, if you want to be able to leverage a different funding strategies to get access to money, you're going to have to lie or falsify any information that you will give a potential lender, banking institution, financial institution to get you money. None of that stuff will be in alignment with what it with my beliefs. They just wouldn't, because I'm a big advocate of how you do anything is how you do everything. So if a person is telling me that I have to lie, I have to falsify information, because believe you me, I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet. And when I say a lot of stuff, I'm not talking about what other people are doing. I'm talking about the stuff that been given to me. People who have came to me looking to obtain funding, they have sent me falsified bank statements. They have sent me fake tax returns. They have did so much fraud, as well as the verbal things that they have said, that will literally could put a person behind bars. I've seen it all. And I'm not talking about what I've seen online. I've just seen the stuff that has been sent to me. And the thing is that that's just not how I do things. So, going back to values, beliefs, and alignment, any person I've ever worked with, I've always told them that your success with getting funding depends on who you are as a person, because your personal credit always will affect your business credit. What you do in your personal, in terms of financial stewardship, I talk a lot about that, will impact what you do in the business realm. What a lot of people want to believe, that they want to do these things in silos. Because once again, this is not to say it's right or wrong. It just depends on who you're tuned into. There are people who will tell you, run the bag up, get as much funding as you can on the business side, and then if you're unable to pay it, voila, it's an LLC and you are not responsible for that debt. Like I said, it goes back to principles. Now, that's not a principle that I would share. Another thing that limits people, because at the end of the day, all the strategies work, but what people have to realize, you have to decide on who you want to be tuned into. Like I said, I always share with people, one affects the other, and also depending on where you are at as a person, in terms of your personal finances, your business finances, will impact how quick and fast you will move up the business funding capital stack. The business funding capital stack is a framework that I teach my clients on how to go from unsecured funding all the way up to the pinnacle of getting private investors to fund what you're doing in real estate. It's literally a stair step. But with that methodology, who you are as a person, what you did in a business, what you did in business will determine how fast you can escalate up the framework. So if a person has no experience in business, they don't have no track record with their personal credit in terms of being able to get access to money, credit, managing it, loans, credit cards, line of credit. They have no personal history on their personal side, but some way magically they want to be able to obtain all these things on the business side. It's out of alignment. It's out of alignment. So that's why I tell people, you have to decide on what you're going to be tuned into. There are so many people who are locked into a strategy that they believe work. By all means, like I said, they all work. But the problem is that people are commingling information because you can't listen to someone like myself who's saying that, yeah, I have no problem. I know my framework. It's been proven. The testimonials are real. The people are real. The success stories are real. But what you can't do is listen to someone like myself who's going to tell you, yeah, getting you there is no problem. Now everything depends on who you are as a person, what you do in business, what you will do in terms of to get you there. So you're listening to someone like me, but then you're also listening to someone else who's telling you this is the play you need to run. A LLC is all you need. A EIN, no doc. I find it very interesting that people are so locked into a methodology that someone else's teaches. I have no problem with that. But what happens is that they want someone else to help them get the results that they heard somebody say, and then get frustrated because they believe in one methodology, but then they're assuming, and this is the problem that I had, and I had explained to the person in the early part of the conversation, everybody is not created equal. Everybody who's doing business credit and business funding ain't created equal. So that's why I said all the strategies work. All the strategies work because at the end of the day, I talked about this in another video in terms of value. You determine what you find valuable. There are some people who will say they want business credit and business funding in order to leverage for real estate, but they've never did real estate. They've never did real estate. But someone is telling them that if they get this golden credit card is going to propel them into real estate millionaire club. And by all means, you gotta lock into that strategy. If that is what you're being taught, by all means, you go ahead and lock into it. Because it goes back to what I said. They all work. But who you are as a person will determine what strategy will work. Because there are some people who will come to me and they're not fully locked in. That's why I don't have no problem telling people when people say to me, do you guarantee results? Yeah, I guarantee results. What I don't guarantee is what you're gonna do. Because I can't stop you from listening to someone else where you know the messages are match, but some way or the other, you want to commingle the information to be as one. Is out of alignment. It's out of alignment. So that's why I can always stand by what I do and how I help people to get access to funding to leverage for real estate. It works. It works because this is what I understand. This is what I tell people. The type of funding doesn't matter. People who want to make the differences of personal credit, business credit don't matter. Because once again, and I had this conversation with somebody I know last night. If you're trying to invest in real estate, build a real estate portfolio, and don't take on any debt, I'm not the person to listen to. I don't apologize for what I teach and how I help people, the strategies that I teach them, because I understand stewardship. Because when it comes to leveraging funding, there are a lot of metrics that I teach my clients they need to look at. The metric is not get a credit card. That is what people most of the time want to do. Like at the end of the day, most people just want a credit card, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I do and how I help people is so much bigger than just a credit card. A credit card is just the beginning, but it has nothing to do with the strategy with real estate to leverage. Because once again, using me as an example, in another video, I talked about bidding on real estate notes. What I'm concerned about is the cash on cash return and the amount of passive income, cash flow that I am going to receive from that real estate investment. The type of funding that I leverage, it don't matter because I'm going to use active income to pay on that debt. And then that real estate asset that I now purchase and have access to now becomes part of my business. And as I stack it, all those real estate notes that is creating cash flow passively, I can now leverage that and get funding because there's no debt against it on the business side. I tell people all the time, I don't have no problem leveraging credit. Utilization, I tell everybody my utilization is always out of whack. I'm not here to I don't care nothing about sitting at a credit score for 800 at an 800 credit score and not putting it to work. I totally believe in what it is that I share with people. I am a big advocate of leveraging credit. But I get it. Some people love to use their credit as a trophy. I have an 800 credit score, 750 score, and it's just sitting there. And by all means, there's nothing wrong with that. But it goes back to alignment. Who are you listening to? You can't listen to this strategy and listen to this other strategy and then want to try to do a mishmash on how I'm going to listen to both to get me to the result. Because at the end of the day, they all work. I just know what's in alignment with what I do and how I can help someone and how I have helped people. I have clients of mine who've leveraged personal credit. If you historically here on my YouTube channel, I have always had one methodology on how to get access to business credit. I have always said that personal credit is the fastest way to get to a business credit result. That message has not changed. When I was saying that back in 2017 and 2018, there were a whole bunch of people on the internet talking about net 30s were going to get you there. And by all means, do net 30s have their place? They do. But it's a very slow process. Now I'm noticing now in the business credit and the business funding space here online, people have kind of gotten away from that. And now they are realizing, yes, you need the personal credit. Because, see, once again, nothing about what I share with people is about being salacious. Because that is the problem that many people are having here in the business funding and the business credit space and trying to tap into accessing these funding strategies is that many people are giving them a very salacious methodology on how to get there. And so people have these salacious methodologies, and now they have nobody to break them down to them because 90% of the time, the person who is teaching you that, you can't get access to them because they give it to you for free. And then they say, if you want access to me, it's 20K, it's 25K, no problem with that. That's no problem. But once again, you have to decide on if that's the methodology for you. So as we continue into 2023, going back to what I originally talked about, how a person that I know came to me and said, there's so many people talking about business funding. There's so many people talking about business credit. How can a person really decipher what is truth and what is real? And it goes back to what are you in line with in terms of your values, what you believe, the vision for your life, the vision for your business. And once you get clear on that, then who you listen to becomes more simpler. Because let me tell you this, and I know a lot of people ain't gonna like it. Access to capital, business funding, business credit, whatever you want to call it, is not gonna fix a broke business. Is not gonna fix a broke business owner. And is not going to fix an incompetent business owner. Ooh, I know I hurt some people. That's right. Business funding don't magically fix you. If you wasn't doing business before you got some funding, getting funding ain't going to change that. And I know that's going to hurt, that's going to sting. But anybody who knows me, they know that I talk truth. There's a whole bunch of people going to tell you that you can get this one golden credit card. This one golden credit card is going to take you to the real estate stratosphere. That is why with what I do, before a person even gets access to the funding, because I know I can get it for them, I'm letting them know. Going back to stewardship, which is one of the principles that I teach in the framework, between 100,000 to 150K in funding, you are possibly going to um you are possibly going to pay between 2,000 to 2,500 in payments on a monthly basis. Do you have the capacity to take on that? See, most people won't even ask you that question because they're selling you on the idea, not on the financial responsibility of what you are taking on. Can you take on a payment of $2,000 to $2,500 in funding once you get up to that 150,000? See, nobody talks about that, right? They just telling you, oh, you're gonna get all this funding, and it just magically you become a rich person. I've told people all the time, be very careful of people who are talking to you and they're at chapter 25 of their life and you're starting at chapter 1. Because at the end of the day, all the strategies work. All of them work. But what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of times the methodologies and the strategies that you are hearing are from people who done took all the bumps and bruises. They've already scratched their elbow. You have never, I've said this to people all the time. Once you get access to X amount of dollars in funding, you are now spinning two plates. You spinning a plate of I have to manage this funding and pay it off. And then you also managing the plate of I'm getting started in real estate. Both of them you haven't even mastered yet. Because probably the highest credit card you've ever had was probably with Credit One or Open Sky for $1,500. But someone taught you the play on how to get some trade lines to get you to the funding quicker. And now you've gotten to the funding quicker, but you have you have no history with being able to manage that money. And this is what I tell people is a biblical principle. When you add new wine into old wine skins, what's going to happen? it's going to burst. And that is what has happened to a lot of people. It's not the funding. It's not personal credit. It's not business credit. It's you as a person going back to all the strategies work. But who are you? Who are you being? Who are you as a person to make the strategies work? Because number one, statistics have shown money never fixes the person. That is why people who win the lottery, who may have been broken mindset, financially challenged, now they come into all this money from hitting the lottery. What happens? 3 to 5 years, their back broke. Why? I've talked about this in other videos because they had a low money thermostat. You're automatically going to default to who you are being. Money doesn't fix that. It goes back to funding is not going to fix a broke person with a broke business or incompetent person. But I know someone is selling you that it will. But going back to a lot of times you don't know people's story. But as we continue into 2023, to give you some clarity, because that is why I do these podcasts, because I have over 700 plus videos here on YouTube. So I've did a lot of strategy, but now I want to challenge people to kind of think for a minute, because a lot of people just aren't thinking. And as you continue into 2023, understand all the strategies work. They all work. And I don't even need to know they all work. But the thing is that who you are as a person will determine how well they work. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to commingle. You don't want to be listening to this person, but then paying for information from this person and then trying to see is there a comparison, because you have people who do that. Well, let me see if the two compare. I tell people right from the door, I don't have no secrets lenders list. There's no secrets lenders list because it's not needed. You don't need to trick yourself to get funding. You don't have to lie. Nobody don't have to do no screenshots of anything that I've said and then send it to the feds, because everything that I say is straight and narrow. If that's not what you like, if that doesn't tickle your fancy, if that's too old fashioned, then I'm not the person to tune into. But this is what I guarantee. I know one thing, my clients can get access to funding. That is why the results that I show are always never me. They're other people. Because no one, at the end of the day, no one cares what you have did. I tell people all the time, what I invest in is not going to help you. I know there's people that will, lead you on a salacious ride and say, "Hey, I bought this, that, and other," but none of that in, because you may not have did the work that I have did. I tell people that I invest in real estate notes directly from the bank. Most people can't even wrap their head around that, because why? They're tuned into another person who's talking about business credit and real estate, and they're telling them it can't happen. There's no way nobody is buying things directly from the bank. Okay, like I said, the strategy works with the right funding. I'm clear on the strategy that I'm trying to achieve. I'm clear on the strategy that my clients are trying to achieve. The money, the funding is a tool. And that's what people don't understand. Funding is a tool. Funding is not the be all to end all. And I'll leave you with this. Some time ago, I was working with one of my kids. And as I was checking the work, I was using a calculator because I already know how to do it. Like I've already been to school. I got a degree. I already know how to work the math problem, but I was using a calculator. And one of my children said, the one that I was working with, my daughter, she wanted to use the calculator. So I said, I'm going to do you one a solid. I'm going to give you the calculator and have you to do the work. And let's see if you can work the problem. Well, lo and behold, even with the calculator, my daughter couldn't do the problem. There was a lesson in all that. The lesson that I showed her was that the calculator is a tool. It's a tool. But if you don't know how to work the problem, the calculator don't matter. That's what I want to leave you with the funding. If you don't know how to work the strategy with real estate, you don't know how it could be profitable. You don't know what type of money you can make from it. You don't know if you use this type of financing, is it the best thing for this particular asset class? If you don't know none of those things, the funding ain't gonna make it no different, because the funding is a tool. The funding don't teach you real estate. The funding don't teach you the strategy. That is why so many people, they come to me and they're like, I can get funding. Okay, well, why are you coming to me then? Because they don't have no strategy. They don't have no strategy. So by all means, once again, thank you for listening to me. Leave your comments if you're listening here on YouTube. If you're listening on any of the podcasting sites, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Please rate the podcast. And as always, links will be below this video. If you are on YouTube, let me know your thoughts. Talk to you in the next episode. Okay, bye-bye.